Black man. There's a lot more to do.
Black man, black man, black man. There's a lot more to do. It's the sounds of Elamoto lifted from the album called A Beautiful World. Welcome to Lockdown Nights with Jossy JOSS tonight. Of course, we are going to be speaking to journalist Lucia Nghifindaka about has been making news in this country of ours, and hey, it's quite an interesting one. The president spoke today. Last week, everybody was anticipating he was going to be speaking on Thursday. He didn't speak, but nonetheless, the president then came out and only spoke today. If you would love to know what has happened there, and we will take a look at that. Of course, grade pre-primary up to grade 3, I think they were supposed to start today. That didn't happen. We'll also take a look at that and what has been happening. But I think Lucy has got quite a number of stories that she took a look at during the period of last week. And we just start taking a recap on those stories. But before we get there, let's quickly take a look at what the numbers are telling us. 9.1 million, 19,585 across the globe. 9.1 million, 19,585 across the globe are infected with COVID-19 or corona, and 472,012 have lost their lives to corona. And of course, the recovery is also looking quite high. If we look at the recovery at 4.8 million, 87,957. And we take a look at the active cases. The active cases pretty much tell us a different story. And that's the beauty about it, because if the active cases are sort of just maintained and dealt with and controlled, that gives us a good picture. 3.7 million or 3.7 million 59,616 are the active cases. Out of those, only 57,863 which makes about 2% are serious or critical cases or conditions, and then 3.7 million 1,753 are mild cases. The number of closed cases sitting at 5.3 million. 5.3 million is the number of active cases, and out of those 5.3 million, 91% are all closed cases or recoveries or discharge cases when we take a look at those cases, and that gives us hope, because we're reaching almost the 500,000 mark in death rates, but at the moment we're seeing so much control that's happening around the virus, with 4.8 million. More than 4.8 million people recovering from the virus. And it gives you a difference in terms of the spike, how it has been and how it has been doing. And it kind of gives you some form of hope that we can deal with this situation. Country by country, the USA still sits on top, with Brazil, Russia, India, UK, Spain, Peru, Chile. You're seeing Italy dropping to number 9 in terms of all those countries that have been in the top 10. And then, of course, Iran dropping to 10. And Iran obviously has been below that, but it's sort of a challenge now with those countries that are in the top 10. We've got about 122 deaths, 122,395, 122,000. It's quite a huge number. The USA sits with the highest number in terms of deaths when we take a look at the number of deaths in the world. When we come to Africa, of course, Africa is led by South Africa. We keep saying again South Africa, because South Africa is ultimately doing a difference here, because they're testing. They're testing over 1.3 million people tested in South Africa at the moment, and that's a good thing, because they're testing, they're isolating, and then of course they are dealing with it. That's how they're dealing with the virus, by testing and isolating, and then of course making sure that they deal with it. 51 608 out of the 97,000. 51,000 is quite a huge number of recoveries. Those are the recoveries out of the 97,302 that have been infected. The death rate is sitting below, just right below 2,000. That ultimately is going to tell us something else, because South Africa is almost getting to the more than 2,000 mark, but Egypt has gotten there. Egypt is already sitting at 2,193. Those are numbers that we don't want to see in Africa, of course, but unfortunately, we know how the virus operates, and we're likely to see those numbers grow as more and more people get tested. We know that a lot of people that have come into Namibia, we've seen a lot of people coming from South Africa, and then a lot of those were sort of the carriers, and for some reason, many of those people have been carriers. We'll also take a look at that case of, the former acting CEO of Fishco, who then, of course, was accused, or is being charged with aiding and abetting and a fugitive. And I think that is a big case, because it talks about, Windhoek Independence 77 on Independence, where, Windhoek picked up this case of someone that came in from abroad. They came in from South Africa, actually. And that gives you an idea of what currently is happening. Namibia, on the other hand, we're now sitting at 63 cases. I think it's about 63 cases. 8 new cases reported this morning by the minister. And then, of course, the president comes out and he says, okay, this is what's going to happen. While Fish Bay, Swakopmund and Arandes sort of still on lockdown, though they move into phase 3, what it means is that there is prohibition on their travel. But we've got 42 active cases, and 21 of those have recovered. That's also another good indication for us. But we are looking at that one case of a serious case. We're still looking at that. And then we've done about testing at around 7,331. That is the picture that we are sitting with when we look at what's currently happening. Let's say good evening to Lucia. Hey, evening to you. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm definitely good. All right. So, how's the week been?
The week have been good so far. I was just waiting on what is the president going to announce and all. So I've been waiting for, I've been thinking there's a lot of cases that are increasing and the school is starting. I was thinking, what is going on? Because then they locked down the country when the cases were only 2, and now we are at about the number is 63, and now the kids are going back to school. So in my mind, I was like, if I had a son or a daughter, then she will be home. Like I will be that kind of mother.
Yeah, well, they stopped it for today. I mean, we're now sitting with a situation where we were preparing for school. I've got a son, and I was preparing for school because he of course stays with me, and we were getting ready for school, and had gotten everything else for school, and all of a sudden we are told yesterday afternoon, actually, the letter came through from the ministry that indicates that schools have to grade pre-primary until grade 3 have to be on hold for now. And the indication is that the schools will now start on the 6th of July, which is still a scary thought. But I think some schools have sort of worked around using the mask. Instead of using the masks, they've sort of used the face shield.
Oh.
They would then wear the face shield instead of using masks, because you ultimately are going to see children removing those masks anyway when they're playing. So that's sort of the situation that we're sitting in at the moment. But interesting enough, President announced whole lot of other things.
Yes.
Walfish Bay is still on lockdown. He said he's not being hard on them. Do you think it's
I will actually agree with him. He did a good thing of putting them on lockdown. I mean, a number of cases have came from there. So it's a good thing that they're actually on lockdown. If I was the president, I will actually extend the days for them not to jump, as in the stage, to jump to stage 3 instead of them just going to stage 2. I felt like he probably felt pity for them, like there's a need for them to actually jump to stage 3, which I'm not actually, I don't agree with it, because jumping to stage 3, that means there will be a lot of things that are opening. There will be interaction, which is the number moving, which the number have to move to 50 people, which is still not safe. And I'm not agreeing with that. And the other thing as well is that the 200, the us now moving to stage 4, which is not a good thing. Fine, it is a good thing in the case
why
of...
shouldn't it be a good thing in terms of the fact that we as a country, we are moving to stage 4? Because businesses are crying and they're saying, well, look, we can't afford another lockdown. And you've seen retrenchments. Last week, one of the biggest stories was about the retrenchments. I think it was front page of 500. I think Pick and Pay is retrenching 500 workers. And then you're seeing, I think, 1,800 from Poop Covets as well. There's quite a number of, I think it's 3 prominent entities last week alone that have indicated that they are retrenching. Now, a lot of them are saying it's because of this lockdowns.
Yes, what I'm trying to say is the stage 3 is okay with that. With us, I mean, my concern is the number of people that are gathering, which move now to a 250, which is still a high risk. Like I was listening to Dave on the briefing, so I was just thinking. I mean, if a person in Valves have to travel to the north for emergency, like let's say somebody passed on, and then I have to travel. I am from Windhoek, and we are going to gather at the same place. And this is a risky, because, I mean, people in Valves, they're not really, they can travel for emergencies, and we are going to gather in the same place, which means a lot of people are now going to be exposed to whoever is infected or have the virus and so on, which my fear is just the number of people that then increase, which is, I'm really worried.
Yeah, I think it's the biggest worry that everybody has. And I was speaking to some people earlier today. I had a meeting with, and they're indicating that, some of them are indicating that it seems as if the government has said, yeah, well, every man for himself now. You're on your own. We've tried to control this thing. Now you're on your own.
Which is not a good thing. It's like it's more like people are just thrown there. We tried controlling you, but then it's more like you were not cooperating or something like that. It's more like now you can walk around, put the mask if you feel like, that kind of spirit, which is not fine. Nobody wants to die. And it's difficult for even an adult to practice social distancing. And one thing I've picked up is that not a lot of us practice social distancing when it's come to my best friend. Like, I haven't seen you in a while, like, Corona, what? Then I just have to hug you. It's more like sometimes you forget that. Like, we tend to forget that she's my best friend and I don't think she have Corona. But we can't actually see through a person that...
In which is sort of the biggest story that's coming out now about the fact that the truck driver snuck out to go be with his his side. Well, I'm hearing his side, and the whole situation turns out that she, obviously her in her position and where she's sitting, she then obviously contracted, and then from contracting, then because she was like, no, he can't have corona. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I also think it was stupid for him to just move and then visit the side chick, because I mean it's just 14 days. Like, can't you just wait 14 days?
He was hungry. He was hungry.
Yeah, but it's just 14 days. It's not like a death sentence or something. Like, you just have to wait for 14 days, wait for your result, and then see what's happening. It's not like people, you were told you have corona, now you have to stay here until you get healed.
Yeah.
No, it's just 14 simple days, 14 days. But then he couldn't wait for that, which I just don't understand.
And now we're seeing more cases literally sort of linked to that case, to I think it's case number 34 or something. Can't really remember. But we're seeing more people linked to him, to that person. And the worst part is that seeing the fact that those cases are coming out of there, and it seems now Kwisebund has become sort of the epicenter of Namibia, and the jokes about calling it Wuhan Bay, it's no longer a joke, because there seems to be a lot of
it's now
cases that are
serious.
coming there. 8 cases today reported. Yesterday, I think it was 9 cases, the highest for the country yesterday. And then before that, we had 7. And most of these cases seems to be linked to this to this case case number.
Okay.
But the foolishness, I think, around how we ignorant and we are taking this thing for granted is also the biggest issue. Because ultimately, what we are doing is we are now saying that, look, if you're my friend, I should not worry about getting the virus because I know you wouldn't have it. And I'm looking at you and I'm saying, you can't have it.
Which is the problem? Which is the problem, because you stayed at your place. I stay at my place. But I don't know where you go. You don't know where I go. When we meet up, we just, no, she's my best friend. I mean, we are friends. No. And then we forget there is corona. But then I can distance myself from people I don't know. I can distance myself from people I haven't seen for a while. But seeing a person every day, that kind of give somebody a clue, like, I know where she have been. But we forget the fact that you don't know where she touched. Like, she been touching a lot of different places, or maybe she visit boyfriends. Let's say maybe I visit this truck driver, if that's happened to
And this
me,
is exactly what happened. She visited, she didn't think she had it, she contracted it, and this is what corona does. You pick it up, you carry it without you knowing that you're carrying it to the next person, and she carried it, and he carried it, and
Yeah,
it's now
but in this
it's now a
case,
big issue.
This case, it's kind of different, because I don't blame the side chick. No, I blame the truck driver.
Why?
Because
Always.
Yeah, yes.
Blame the man.
No. Let's not get there. It's not about the man. This is about the truck driver. He was supposed to adhere to the instruction. And he's supposed to listen and just wait for 14 days and then wait what happened, wait for the results and all. It's more like he acted like he was so thirsty that he can't wait for 14 days. I mean, it's just 14 days. I've been telling people it's just 14 days. And it seems like it's a month. Like,
Okay, then we're seeing the situation that happened at 77 on Independence last week, and it involves a police officer as well. I think, and then at the same time, it also involves, it seems Fishko just seems not to be getting out of the news at all, with the fact that now you have a situation where the acting CEO of Fishko ended up being sitting in a situation where he's aiding and abiding a fugitive. And it happens that the fugitive actually is positive in terms of corona, COVID-19. Now he's saying, and then people are looking at 77 on independence and saying, whoa, I don't want to go there. People need to get out now because of what has happened. And then again, it's the negligence and the ignorance that we play around this whole thing where we think and we feel that there's no way that I can get it just because my friends don't seem to have it. And you're not seeing this situation. I mean, like, it's a big story. First is about the 7 million. Secondly is about aiding and abiding. Would you say this is linked to fish rot or not? Was the 7 million for the fish rot?
I wouldn't want to go deep into that, but I think there's a link somewhere. I mean, things like that. Let me not speak about it. So let's just drop it.
Let's not drop it.
Yeah,
but it made waves last week. I think it's one of the biggest stories that made waves last week, and people were talking about it, and some people were even saying, "No, it could be that the money is fish rot money."
Something is actually fishy. Like there must be a link somewhere. I don't know where exactly where to place my hands, but there is something there.
Okay, now. Other stories that let's look at some of the stories that you covered last week. For example, what are some of those stories that you covered?
Last week I covered the winter solstice.
Okay.
That's like the shortest days in a year. That was like the 20th of June and the 21st. So it's mostly 2 days. So that means it's more like the changing of the seasons. Like
shortest how?
It's more like it's more like the sun. It's tilt to the sun. It's more like when it's the sun. When the sun changes, it's more like when it tilts the weather. When the sun is closer, then it's more like then the days are shorter.
Okay,
that's actually what's happened because it's
is
winter.
That why I didn't sleep on.
Yeah, it does happen. There are actually effects like headaches. Change of hormones, especially for the ladies.
Oh,
and yeah.
Change of hormones how?
Like you can actually get your period like within the 2 days, the shortest days, because there is actually disadvantages and advantages, and in other countries like what is that? I can't really remember, but there are 2 countries that actually these people celebrate the winter solstice and summer solstice. But then summer solstice is in December. This one is in June. So
okay. Yeah. Okay, and then what other stories did you cover?
I covered the tribalism, which is now the Kapale, the men who insulted the Namas on social media and all the crazy stories that people got actually angry. I mean, it's more like we're supposed to stand together as a country. But I've noticed most of the people we are in more to tribalism, as in you are what, you are Kwambi, you are what, this is Tamara and all. It's more like instead of us just standing together and fight Corona, instead of bringing other things, and then we have full hands upon ourselves. So yeah.
But do you think like that there was this discussion that was there in Parliament where the president actually said that he seems to see that tribalism is happening with a lot of young people now? Is tribalism really that rife? Based on the story that you did you pick up in any way that like tribalism is sort of amongst young people?
Yeah, it is. It is. It's. I mean, in most people have a culture of, my mother told me not to hang with these people are bad, and you grow up with that, with that kind of spirit, like this tribe is like this tribe is like this, and it's more like it's what people believe, and they grow up with that kind of mentality, which will change you. And whenever you meet these different tribes, and then you think, this is what I had. But then I've really learned that it's not what you hear. It's what you try really to find out. Like, let me find out for myself. I actually had Damaras are this, Vambos are this. But then for me, what I do is I step up, do the things for myself, and then just find out. Like, let me find out for myself instead of maybe hearing from here and there. And
From here and there, and hearing it from someone else.
Yeah.
All right. We'll continue to take a look at some of those stories. We continue right here on Lockdown Nights with Jossy JOSS.
A radio commercial must captivate the imagination of the
Oh, yes.
And this requires years of experience, which we have. So let us produce a great radio commercial for you from as little as 1,300 Namibian dollars for a corporate advert, including voice with effects, and for your SME adverts from 650 Namibian dollars.
Oh, yeah.
So call now on 081 271 7853 or 085 271 7853, or you can simply send us your email to joseph@alvigordon.com for your bookings. Jossy JOSS, revolutionizing the creative space. Lockdown Nights with Jossy JOSS. Lockdown Nights with Jossy JOSS.
Well, we continue right here on Lockdown Nights with Jossy JOSS, and joined in the Lockdown House by Lucia Nghifindaka, a journalist with the NBC, and just taking a look at some of those news that made headlines. We took a look at, of course, what government has said today through the president, of course, speaking and addressing the nation today, and giving sort of a feedback as he regularly does with on the COVID or the COVID-19, just the feedback and the way forward around it. And we also spoke about, that one of those big stories that made headlines last week is, of course, the fugitive that was arrested at 77 on Independence, and some high-profile Namibians involved in there, including the CEO or the former acting CEO of Fishco, Paulus Ngalangi. That's just in terms of some of the stories. He has, of course, had indicated that he took all precautions throughout the process, but of course they have been quarantined, even the police officer, and they are to be charged. We'll follow up on that. We took also around the winter what are they called?
Winter soul stars.
Winter soul stars, as well as the two shortest days in the year, the 20th and 21st of June. 21st of June happened to be Father's Day as well. We also spoke about the story all around tribalism. Tribalism, I think it's a story that's creeping up, and we're seeing so much happening around tribalism. And that is probably the biggest and the craziest thing that's happening at the moment, is that we're seeing so much happening around tribalism, and we somewhat need to be very careful about how we're dealing with this issue around tribalism. Are we really as accepting and appreciating and embracing each other? Because it's a culture thing. You've got a cultural way of doing things. I got a cultural way of doing things. Other people have got cultural ways of doing things. How do we respect and appreciate each other's culture? I think it's a big issue, and I think it's where the misconception is. Mm-hmm. And we then try to create connotations and to say, maar vamos, the LSTL, Tamara's doing that, which is, I think, a wrong thing.
Yeah, it is wrong. I mean, instead of us just joining hands together as one and stop pointing fingers, it's mostly who, it's mostly what, and then just embrace. I mean, we're human beings.
Yeah.
And just remember we are human beings, and then forget about you are what, I'm what, you are what. It's more like, fine, we all have different cultures. Let's not forget that. But then one thing we should just avoid is pointing fingers and these people are like this, because not everybody is the same. I mean, we just need to join hands together, especially in this time that we don't get to fight different things like South Africa and America and all that. Let's just stand together as Namibians and just fight what is there. I mean, Corona is already enough.
Yeah.
Instead of bringing tribalism and it's just a lot to handle at one point.
Okay. So what other stories did you cover last week? What other stories that you had look?
I've looked at the Miranda case, the first
Okay.
case in Miranda, case number 37.
You said that there was a misunderstanding.
Yeah,
It's
there was
confusion
actually
there.
a misunderstanding because the nation where there was a bit confusion of if the student, which is a 20-year-old student, if where did he travel or what happened? Yes, he did travel, and he only went to school for a day, and then he was quarantined for he has symptoms, flu-like symptoms,
Yeah.
and then he had to come home, he had to go for testing, and then he received his results, which came out positive. And then when he received his results, then he have to be quarantined, as in to go to the isolation facilities, and he's still there. So people were wondering, where did he get the virus?
Where did he travel
actually?
to?
I can't really recall where he traveled to. If I tell you, I'll be lying. So
Yeah.
let me not get there.
Okay.
So, yeah.
But he traveled.
Yeah, but he traveled.
Okay. Okay, because there's an issue around local transmission, which we're seeing sort of in Walfish Bay now. But the whole country seems to be very quiet around local transmission, or just in terms of numbers increasing in the rest of the country. We've now seen that all 13 regions, all 13 regions, with the exclusion of Erongo, are now on stage 4, whereas, if you look at Erongo, is now on stage 3, but with the exception of Walfish Bay, Swakopmund, and Arandes, those would have a stage 3, but then with a travel ban that you can't get in or get out of that area. But there's always this commotion that happens when a case comes out, and it comes out in an area. Do you think that social media does somewhat of a justice around some of these cases when they come out, and then journalists sort of have got, or the media has not gotten there enough to be able to provide the information, and then all of a sudden a lot of information flows around, and some of it is not really correct? Do you think there's a lot of harm there that social media does?
Yeah, it does really a lot of harm, because if I go on social media and I haven't seen what is on social media, and then let's say a media house, for instance, haven't reported anything, and I'm reading somewhere a source that actually provide information that we are actually at 73, I'll be freaking out. I'm already freaking out at 63, which is yes, there are those that actually got healed and whatnot, but then it's more like there's still that fear in people that we are actually increasing by the day. Like yesterday was 9, today is 8. It's more like it's scary. It's really at first we actually took this thing as a joke. We were all making jokes on social media about Corona thing and whatnot. And then there was a saying that Corona actually don't kill black people until actually find out that Corona it does kill black people. Now we are like, there's no Corona in Namibia when we were actually going down. But now we're going high, which everybody's freaking out like, what is happening? Corona is actually here. The people that didn't used to wear masks, now they're actually wearing masks. They're actually carrying sanitizers and gloves and whatnot. People that were not afraid of this corona, so-called corona, now they actually have believed that, corona is actually here. We are at number 65, and most of the people are black. So, there's no actually, corona doesn't actually have
color.
A color, yeah.
Yeah.
It's here, and it's here.
It's here
to kill whoever is not actually taking responsibilities.
In one of those big stories that comes out, of course, is the death of the Burundian president, and now we're hearing that he actually died of COVID-19, and the numbers in terms of some other people within his family that are also infected, and it shows you that even African or even leaders globally will die. Even those, I mean, I know Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of the UK, also was actually he was sitting with, he was also in ICU because of COVID-19. So it kind of doesn't have color, no does it have rings in terms of saying you are poor, you are rich, you won't get it because you are rich or anything else.
I guess we still have that feeling, as in if we hear whoever has a higher rank, and then we think he's also have corona, that kind of thing. Like, I expected people from the deep down where the informal settlement maybe to get this type of virus. But then what we forget is corona didn't come for the poor. Corona came for all of us. And I think we just have to practice whatever we have to practice in order to protect ourselves from, getting this virus.
Okay, so let's look at other stories that you covered over the week.
I covered the burning house that was in Commersdal.
Okay. What happened there?
There is actually 3 sisters that stay together. So they were actually in the house, and that was on I think that was Sunday, and then they called me a Monday to go actually help them out, because they call, and then they were like, no, we need actually help, maybe for assistance and all those. And they were like, the one is actually disabled, like she can't speak, she can't walk. So she's actually a 19-year-old lady. Her name is Vivian. So what happened is the elder sister was outside, and she was sleeping in her room, and according to them, they have no idea where actually the fire started, but they believe it started in Vivi's room, which is now the lady who was the disabled lady who was sleeping in the room by that time. And the elder sister came in, which is Emma now. She came in the house, and then she was smelling smoke, and then she just saw like smoke and fire coming from the now Vivi's bedroom. Yeah. So then they really do not know what happened, what brought the fire and all that. So what they were pleading is just assistance.
Was Vivian then able to be saved?
Well, Vivian managed to jump out from the room, but then the bed was completely destroyed, like bent, and she managed to actually get out from the room, but she had she survived a lot of injuries, which is she bent, her legs bent, and her abdomen also, and she's in the Cathedral Hospital. So yeah. But
so what was the assistance that they were looking for?
They were looking for, because most of Vivi's clothes bent up, so they are looking for assistance, whoever can assist with whatever they can provide for the family. Because as we speak now, they don't have a place to stay. They actually stay at the neighbor's house, because they were actually renting at this house. Now they stayed at the neighbor's place, where they sleep on a mattress at a neighbor's in the neighbor's sitting room.
And the other 2 sisters, what do they do?
I have no idea. Like the elder sister, the younger sister do modeling. I've been viewing a WhatsApp status. That's what we do now. So I've no idea what the elder sister do.
Okay, because I think it's quite interesting to know that this is happening when perhaps maybe we've done a charity drive here on lockdown nights with JOSS, and I think we raised some money. We can raise the same again, and we can do the same that we did for Prayer House. We can do the same that we we did for Foundation Care House, and we can try and see how we can assist. I think we'll have a discussion around it with the team, and then see how we can get this sorted out. But so where are they? Why are they at the neighbor's house now?
Because now the house burned down, as in
fully
they
burned
called,
down.
no, not fully, but then they managed to call the firefighters, which they came, but they didn't really get there on time. So the house burned. It's completely dark, and most of the things burned in now Vivi's room, and the house is completely in a mess. So what they did is they're afraid to be sleeping in the place like that, and they don't have money to renovate the place and all. So what they did is they actually moved to the neighbor's place, like for the time being, until they actually get help whoever good Samaritan that can help.
So we could look at renovation as a way to help them.
Yeah, I think that will do.
It's quite a sad story.
Okay,
now let's look at the other stories that you covered as well.
I've covered a donation.
Okay.
On just doing donation is sometimes hectic and complicated, because somebody is calling, like I'm donating, and the person is just donating 3 things, like let's say maybe sanitizer, and this person wants we want his story to be covered, as in.
And what's the value?
Yes, that's where I'm going. Like the value is maybe $1,000. You buy things for $1,000, and you want a media house to come and cover you. I mean, sometimes I really get disappointed by people that want to actually donate $1,000 stuff. Why? Because, I mean, is it fame you're looking for? Or are you really helping from your heart?
Yeah.
Like, which is which? Do you want to get a tender, or where is this really going? Because like the story I covered.
Do you think that locally is there a lot of donations or philanthropy that goes from the heart, and people really just want to help out, and they want to just help those people that I need? Because like when we did the drive, we just wanted to raise funds. We just wanted to help people where we can help. And I think sometimes we see people raising these funds or not necessarily raising funds, taking out money out of their pockets, and they would say, no, I'm going to donate, like you say, 1,000. But these individuals, they might be doing a great deal. They might be doing a great deal, and they're doing well. But you then find that a lot of the companies in this country, they sort of are not doing a lot when it comes to philanthropy and donations and taking care of the communities they operate within. Do you think there is serious donation or serious philanthropy in Namibia, or is people just looking for fame, really?
No, there are those ones that are actually helping from their hearts, and there are those ones that are actually helping from the fame kind of view, and there are those ones that they want to help because they want people to see I'm actually helping out. Like you out here helping out people, and you hear, I'm donating. Like the whole world need to know you donated. But is it really from your heart that you really have a heart for these certain people that don't have food to eat, especially this time of Corona, and just give them from your heart, like, I really care? Or you giving so you can be noticed? Like, most of the things I've observed is that it's either they're looking for fame, it's either they're looking for them to be noticed. But a few of them that I've actually seen, they're actually donating from like a caring point of view. So it's quite a few of them that donate like, I'm helping because I care. I'm not helping because I need the world to know Lucy donated. Lucy actually was available. Lucy was helping when Corona, we have problems and all. So yeah.
Okay. Now, the one of the stories that has made headlines, I think today, is of course the story around the issue around late communication from the presidency, and sort of a feel there's a shutdown on the media, and media is not receiving the information on time. And in many cases, obviously, NBC comes to the forefront, and they get bashed for the fact that they seem to receive everything in advance. And one of those issues was that last week, and it so happens that the NBC had received, I don't know whether they had received information and they put out information, only to find out that that information, the president was not going to be speaking. I don't know whether from my understanding is that the communication was actually that, hey, look, we are going to do this, and then it doesn't. Is that a fair assessment, or based on that story, looking at it, that the communication is not flowing?
No, the communication is flowing. It's just he was actually supposed to address the nation, but then what he said is we should be on a standby, which it was not really mentioned that he's going to announce, but there was a possibility that he's gonna announce. It's more like be on hold. Whatever comes up, we're ready.
Yeah.
But it was not a thing like we will do it. But it was just a thing of be ready, whatever. Then probably something happened. I mean, we human, so something might had happened, and they change it to let's just do it the next day. Things like that. So that's what happened. I'm hearing the people on social media, NBC this, NBC that. It's not actually NBC's. I won't blame NBC, because it's just something. If somebody tell you, I'll probably be at your place at 8, there is a probably in the sentence. So it was not stated that I'll be at your house at 7. That's a different case. So yeah.
Okay. NBC also made the headlines last week. I will quite interesting stories that coming out of NBC. But it was interesting to note that the NBC was covering its own stories. Some people would hide certain things under the carpet and not cover the stories, especially when it's stories of fraud, and that I think was the biggest thing, because people were saying, but the NBC is covering its own stories.
Yeah, I mean things like that needed to be exposed.
Yeah,
I mean it's more like you busy doing things that are not supposed to be done, and if the world need to know, the world need to know. Like, yeah, there are things you can hide in there, but things like that, they need to be exposed. I mean, it's more like when you start something like that, it's assured that you probably might continue. And it's not like somebody's trying to ruin your life. It's more like they might have learned I don't know what they have learned, but I'm sure they've picked up something.
Okay. Now, the big story, I think, for a lot of people, especially people like me, was the tabling of the Access to Information Bill last week. Okay. The minister has tabled, finally, after 5 years of waiting, after 5 years of putting together a draft, it's finally coming to it has finally made it to Parliament. What is your take on access to information? What is, in your view, is it a thing worth celebrating that we have a bill now in Parliament that could be passed and be enacted as law and becomes an act? Are you, as a journalist, excited about it? And it's also because you interact with communities. Do the communities have really the information that they need? But are you, as a journalist, excited about the fact that, access to information bill is going to be in place very soon? It's been tabled now in Parliament.
No, I'm actually excited on that, because if there's some, everything that is new will be able to actually change things in the Parliament. If you start something and you are assured that something will bring a different, and that different, it's a positive different. I'm actually waiting for it, for the positivity that this bill will actually bring out, as in now we have new faces in the Parliament, and everything is exciting. Every day is interesting for you to watch, so nobody's sleeping, it's only few here and there, so it's an interesting thing. I can actually wait to get deeper to see who is doing what is happening, and what is really, because sometimes we just set rules and we don't follow them. Like I'm waiting for the things to be activated, for it to be processed, and to just find out what is really going to stay, what is really going to bring a change, as in for all of us, for the community and all.
Now, in terms of some of the people that you speak to, what is the interest from, for example, you spoke about this issue around tribalism. I'm sure you're taking the time to speak to different people within the community. Is there an understanding where people know that they are able to watch Parliament, and the Parliament is now being streamed live, and Parliament is sort of available for people to be able to watch it and to engage with their leaders by watching what their leaders are doing, and what is the feedback there?
I've spoken to a few of them, but then most of them have no clue, no idea at all if this is really happening. Like, what time is Parliament? What do they talk about? It's only a few of them that actually have an interest of listening. What is going on today? What is the motion today? What are my leaders talking about? And I think when people have actually a clue of, like, this is what going on, and this is the time that Parliament start, and I think if they get more information on, or maybe they have to be briefed on what is Parliament all about. Because I've come to understand that people on the ground most people on the ground do not really understand what the importance of Parliament and all.
Wow. Quite interesting. We've come to the end of the show. Time is not on our side, but nonetheless, thank you so much, Lucia. I hope you're going to join us sometime again.
Oh, I'll surely do.
Okay.
I'll do.
All right. Thank you so much, and had a great show. Enjoyed it. Lovely. This has been Lockdown Nights with Jossy JOSS. We had Lucia Nghifindaka, journalist with the NBC, talking to us about stories and just recapping on some of the news that had made headlines last week in the land of the brave. Thank you so much. Tomorrow night, we have got MediTalk. We are going to be speaking about contraceptives. Contraceptives is what we're going to be talking about with Dr. Stanley Kanyemba tomorrow. That's the conversation that we're going to be having right here on Lockdown Nights, on MediTalk, on Lockdown Nights with Jossy JOSS. Keep the faith and good night.
Lockdown Nights with Jossy JOSS. Lockdown Nights with Jossy Joss.